Harry Kane versus Victor Osimhen, United's seemingly two most likely targets for a new striker this summer. We are here to go over the pros and the cons of both players and decide who is the right man for Manchester United. My adversary today in this huge debate is Mr. Jay Motty. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I think this is the first time I've ever been called your adversary. Usually like friends, colleagues.
Not today.
Not today.
It's
There's
over.
no love lost, man.
Get
Don't
your
chat
thoughts
to
in
me.
the comments. We'll be coming to those later on, so get your super chats, get your chats in. We'll be coming to those and hearing your thoughts. But first of all, Jay, I want you to tell me who you think United should sign out of these two, and I want you to tell me your argument quickly. As to why.
I think the one I would prefer out of the two, because I've said it on video not long ago, if Harry Kane signs for Manchester United, I won't be devastated by that. I'd be quite happy, and I think we can win a league title with Harry Kane. I just think Victor Osimhen ticks all the boxes for me. He's an exciting player. Some of the goals he scored, I've seen Victor Osimhen trending because of a goal he scored, a wonder goal. Very rare I see that with Harry Kane or other players that we've been linked with. I also think the age, he's 24, he's moving in the right direction. Everything's going in the right direction in terms of his numbers. He's a longer-term signing for Manchester United, whereas if you get Harry Kane, he'll be 30 by the time the transfer window opens. It's another shortish-term player, because I know, I've said it the other day, he's got at least 2 or 3 seasons left him at the top. Victor Osimhen could have another 8. Yeah. He could be your guy who could come in and do a job for you for the next 8 years, and then you haven't got to replace him in a few seasons, which is what I think will happen with Harry Kane. So yeah, I do like Harry Kane, but I think Victor Osimhen is that young, exciting striker who's on the up, where Harry Kane, he may have already peaked, but I still think, even though he's already peaked, he can still do his job for the next few seasons. I just think you get Victor Osimhen in, that's you sorted with a truly phenomenal number 9 who can be Manchester United's number 9 for the next 8 seasons.
I like it. And unfortunately, Jay, I have to disagree with you. I think Victor Osimhen is a very good player, and just to echo, for the sake of transparency, I would be happy with Victor Osimhen at Man United.
I know you would.
But to me, Harry Kane is the perfect signing for United. Right. It makes more sense than Osimhen. Osimhen has, we'll get into some of the strengths and weaknesses later on, but just to stay with Harry Kane, he is the safest pair of hands I think United could possibly go for. Not just has he scored goals consistently for almost a decade now, he has done it in the Premier League. He has done it for a team that is, a decent team. He's never had the chance to sort of push himself at the highest level. And whilst some people will talk about his record in finals and that sort of thing, I think if he was playing for a team that was better, he would have won finals. I would never count that against him. He's scored more goals than anyone in the world in the 2017-18 season. He's won 4 Golden Boots in the Premier League as well. He's literally as consistent and as safe a bet as you can possibly get. It reminds me a lot of the Van Persie signing, where yes, you might not get 5 or 6 years out of him, but you are almost certainly guaranteeing, I think at his worst, you are getting 18, 19 goals and 7 or 8 assists. That is the least you are getting out of Harry Kane. And I think if we added that to the current squad that we've got, maybe Rashford might not get 30 next season, but if you can get 50 goals between the two of them, you're looking at a strike force that I think can and probably will certainly challenge for Premier League titles, and I'm not certain that Victor Osimhen has got that same sort of safe bet that you get with Harry Kane. And for me, I think when you look at some of the other pieces in the squad, you look at Varane, who is retired from international football, maybe sort of on the way, past his best in his career. You look at Casemiro, 31 years old now. You look at Harry Kane. I think regardless of who you get, we need to win now. Because in 3 or 4 years' time, the spine of our team will either be different or, aging and worse than they are now. Forget 8 years' time. Let's start winning trophies now. And I think Harry Kane is a better way to do that than Victor Osimhen.
I think you make a good point about needing to win now.
Yeah.
I know Casemiro, he's not got many years left in him. You look at Raphael Varane, how long has he got left in him? But I also think there's an argument to be made that, Victor Osimhen can help you win trophies now.
Yeah.
He can. This is a kid who's progressing. He's having his best ever season, both in terms of goals and appearances. And also, you look at someone like Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford over the next few years, if he keeps getting better and better, Victor Osimhen keeps getting better and better, then yes, they can win things now, but also in a couple of years' time, they could be ridiculous.
Yeah.
And also, so it's like you can have the best of both worlds for me. Yeah. With signing someone like Victor Osimhen. And what I like about, you mentioned there Harry Kane. He's been a safe pair of hands at Spurs, yeah? But I think that's a little bit of a criticism of him, because Yes, he's been at Spurs for all those years.
Yeah.
But he hasn't won now.
Well,
now, and you can go, what's Victor Osimhen win? Napoli are 19 points clear.
Yeah.
They've not won a title, I think, since Diego Maradona played for him. Victor Osimhen's given him a goal start every game. His record is basically a goal a game in Serie A.
Well, let's get into that then. Let's get up the player profiles. We've got loads of stats, loads of depth, loads of detail.
Okay.
But if we start here with the player profiles, simple, basic, attacking stats. You've got the ages there, 29 to 24. You've got 39 appearances to 29. You've got the goals there. Victor Osimhen currently 2 more goals than Harry Kane, and the assists 1 more as well. So this season, obviously, Osimhen's output is slightly more impressive. But if we move on to the next slide here, obviously a lot of detail, a lot of data going on here. But if we just go through this, not necessarily one by one, but obviously goals, you see Victor Osimhen is ahead in terms of goals per 90, 91 to Kane's 0.6. The expected goals, a similar story. Non-penalty goals again higher, shots higher. Basically, every single attacking stat is higher for Victor Osimhen, which obviously supports your argument. The only thing I would say is that's one season. That is this season. This is the only year where Victor Osimhen has gone Jesus in front of goal. His track record, I know he's young, but he's 24, he's not 19. Do you know what I mean? He's not like just coming through. He's a player who should be entering those kind of peak years. I think 24 to 29 or 24 to 30 is where you start to see players hit that kind of maximum level. And so far, there isn't that much evidence to say that he can do this over 8 or 9 years. And I'm sure he could, and I'm sure maybe he will. But again, it pains me to come back to it, but you know that Kane can do that. He has been doing what Osimhen is doing now for 7 years in a row, and he does it every single season as well. Obviously, I mean, you look at that numbers. What do you make of that?
Well, this is, I mean, you're right in terms of Harry Kane's been doing it for years and Victor Osimhen is. Yeah. Well, Victor Osimhen he seems to be improving. He seems to be improving during this season. You're looking at him, you're going, he's getting better and better. And I think that, this season, his numbers, his record, everything is phenomenal. Harry Kane, we're banking on Harry Kane still having enough left in the tank post 30 as what he's had pre 30. And I don't think there's a much debate that Osimhen's going to have more, or improve. That's what he's been doing. I also think Victor Osimhen deserves credit for taking those chances. Victor Osimhen's played in the Bundesliga. He's played in France with Lille, was it? He's played in Belgium, and he's played in Serie A. He's only 24. Harry Kane, right, sat on Spurs until he didn't get his move to City, and then didn't turn up for training when he was trying to force that through. So he's kind of played it safe throughout his entire career, and hasn't really took that chance. Victor Osimhen as well, he's taking his team to a title. They're going to win the Scudetto. There's no, come on, they're going to drop 9 points.
It would be
and he's taken a team that wasn't really fancied, or the mum was thinking, Napoli's going to win the league this season.
Roma might push.
Yeah. He's taken them to do that. Harry Kane, he's been to a couple of finals. Spurs have been in the top 5. I think they finished 3rd and 2nd when he's been there, but they never really looked like he could take them over the line. Whereas Victor Osimhen has done that, and also I think if you look at the Champions League, people go, well, Harry Kane took Spurs to a Champions League final, except he didn't. I mean, he missed both semi-finals and he missed one of the quarter-finals. And I think he stopped scoring in in the groups. He scored goals, and in the last 16, I think he scored goals. He didn't get any goals in the quarter-finals or in the semis. He didn't play, and also in the final, you could tell he wasn't 100%.
Yeah, but that's not his fault.
No, it's not. Yeah. But I wouldn't give him credit for them getting to that final. Is my point.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not saying Napoli are going to win the Champions League, but I think against Milan, is it in the quarters?
Yeah.
Who they've already beaten this season without Osimhen. Yeah. So with him, you'd fancy him.
Yeah.
So I just feel like there's a chance here that Victor Osimhen can win trophies, can get better, and I know it's a basic argument, but I always feel like Harry Kane, yeah, you're right, safe is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes you're veering almost, it's a bit hard to say base, because the guy scores goals for jokes. But Victor Osimhen just seems like an explosive, exciting player that everyone wants to watch. Everyone raves about him. Everyone shares his goals. Everyone's like, oh, Victor Osimhen. The fans, I know Spurs fans love Harry Kane, but he's like that. Oh, my God, have you seen Victor Osimhen? I feel sometimes with Son and Kane, Son's been the one that Spurs fans have been looking at times because of the nature of his goals and the excitingness.
He's more likely to get you a goal that stuns you or a run from his own half. But Harry Kane is the only person in that team that is world class for me. I think
I don't disagree. I think
Son is too inconsistent. I think he again, he's having a stinker this year. Last year, people were talking about him player of the year. The year before that, decent. Like he seems to have a year on, a year off.
I think that's a fair.
I think he's a very good player. But Harry Kane is a consistent sort of force in what has been a ever evolving Tottenham team. You've got to remember as well, Yes, he's not won any trophies, but I don't think Victor Osimhen's won many either.
No. This is what I'm saying. I'm more talking about what he's going to do this season.
But the thing with Harry Kane is he was there under. Was he there under Redknapp?
He probably would have been. He's been there for what, 10 years?
He was there
11
under
years,
Poch.
I think.
He was there under Jose.
He was there under Sherwood.
He was there under Sherwood. He gave him his debut, didn't he? He was there. He didn't stop talking about it. He was there now under Conte as well. And he has been the best player in that team under all of those different styles of managers. You've got the high pressing, free-flowing football of Pochettino. You've got the defensive, sort of dogged play of Mourinho and Conte. It might have even been there with AVB. I don't think he was quite there then. But like he can excel and adapt to any system. Napoli are playing this way of football, which is amazing. Searing, quick, rapid football, young players playing incredible stuff. We don't know that Victor Osimhen can do it not just in the Premier League, but in a Ten Hag team. I'm pretty certain that Harry Kane could score goals and would score goals for any team in the world. That's another thing. I think we've got to talk about how these players will adapt. I have no doubt whatsoever that Harry Kane, like I said, he's scoring a minimum of 18, 19 goals next season, unless there's some terrible injury.
Listen, I'm not going to dispute that. Yeah. I think that Harry Kane will score goals in his team, but I also think Vince Osimhen will. And I think that he went to Napoli when he was, 22, did he? And for a 22-year-old to have already played in 4 different countries, I think, it's pretty impressive to me. Like, he's taking a chance, the kid. I know it didn't work out for him in Germany, but he's obviously done well enough to become the most expensive African player ever. And that's a lot of expectation, a lot of pressure on the kid. Yeah. But he took it. Yeah. He took that £80 million price tag. And we've seen players at Manchester United who haven't been able to handle a price tag. He's handled it easily. Now, I think Harry Kane would handle it. I think if he came to United for 100 million, but I think you could pay similar prices for him. I think you probably pay a bit more for Victor Osimhen, and I think you've got a player there that's going to be around for a long time. The fans will absolutely adore him because he not only scores great goals, he scores those types of goals where he'll put his head in something. Yeah. He'll put his foot in something.
No, he's got something about him.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of that sort of Mark Hughes spirit of like he scores spectacular goals.
And he absolutely twats it like Mark Hughes.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
He hits it so hard, Osimhen. Yeah, I do like that.
So I think he'll be a fan's favourite. And listen, I'm loath to sort of have a dig at Harry Kane because I do actually like him as a player. I think he'll be a very good signing if United got him. But there is a little bit of a touch of, like the whole, I swore on my daughter's life that goal's mine, not Christian Eriksen's.
That is a bit sad, isn't it?
It's a bit like...
Right, I've heard enough, Jay. I need some more stats to help me out here.
Okay.
Right, let's have a look at Harry Kane's shots from open play. This is this season. The green ones are goals. The other ones are just who cares.
Right, okay.
Osimhen, similar. What do we get from that? Who really knows? All it says is that Osimhen's primarily hitting it from the right-hand side. Go back to Kane's. Look at that, lovely bit of variety there. But here's the one that I really want, Jay. Here's the one
That's the most meaningless graphic I've ever seen in my life
nice.
For our argument.
Here's the one.
Where that you could have swapped Harry Kane for Victor Osimhen, and me and him would have been none the wiser.
And you could have swapped it for Joe Smith at five-a-side. Here's the one where I'm pushing all my chips in here, Jay.
Go on, son.
Hit me with the passing stats.
Right, okay.
Now, admittedly, Osimhen has actually got more assists than Kane this season. Okay. However, Harry Kane in his career has had 10 assist seasons. He's had a 17 assist season, which is, you're talking about elite creator numbers there. But other than the actual assists, every single stat by Harry Kane is absolutely elite. This is compared to other attackers in the top 5 leagues in Europe. Look at that. Key passes, phenomenal. Progressive passes, top 5%. Passes into final third. Passes into the box. Passes completed. My argument with Kane is that you are not just getting a better striker than Wout Weghorst or Anthony Martial. You are getting a better Anthony. You are getting a better Marcus Rashford, if you can believe it. You are getting a better Bruno Fernandes because he is phenomenal in the build-up. And we saw that from Heung-min Son. There's a reason why they've got more assists to each other than any combination in Premier League history. It's because for a number 9 who scores similar goals to what is an elite goal scorer in Victor Osimhen this season, you're also getting one of the better creators in world football, and the stats prove it. You look at the comparison there, passes into the box. Victor Osimhen is basically in the box, so he's never playing it in the box. He's passed into final third, progressive passes, all of them, and fair enough, maybe he's not that type of player, and that's fair enough. But Harry Kane is the goal scorer that Osimhen is, and is also this kind of player. I think that's a massive ace in the hole for Kane because you're getting a better striker, but you're getting a better front line because he's getting you minimum 5 assists a season, maybe as high as 17, which we've seen in the past. I think that is a big thing with Kane in it that you're probably not getting with Osimhen.
I think Osimhen can still get you assists. I think, let's face facts. Osimhen playing alongside Marcus Rashford, he's going to get assists. He just is. And also, I think that, Kane, you're right. Heung-min Son for about 2.5 years was ridiculous.
Yeah.
He was scoring goals from running from his own half, which, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying Harry Kane was sort of setting up those goals, but those two were on a sort of a partnership which was almost not anywhere, well, when I say almost, not as good as York and Cole, but that sort of understanding that worked so well and got them so many goals and assists between each other. So I get all that. But I think if you bring in Victor Osimhen, I think you still get a better Marcus Rashford. You get a better Andy. Like, you've seen Weghorst, and I like the kid. He's good on his pro and all that. He's almost like a midfielder at times. Victor Osimhen, he's that 9 you want. He's in the box. He's also dragging players left, right and centre. He's creating space for Andy. He's creating space for Marcus Rashford. There's no stat for that.
No, he's creating space, but Harry Kane is creating chances. I think that's different. Even you look at the expected assists, Kane's is higher. So, the only reason his actual assists are low is because the players around him are struggling to put the ball away this season, namely Heung-min Son, Kulusevski as well, and, the rest of the players at that Tottenham team. He should have more assists than Osimhen this season. He has created more. He has played the ball in the box more. And I think for a player, there are very few players in the world who have got the goal-scoring ability and the creativity of Harry Kane. Bruno Fernandes springs to mind on his form, on his day. But other than that, and obviously Kane is a better finisher than Bruno Fernandes is. Other than that, I do really think that's one area where there's almost no one in the world who kind of can quite do what Kane does, and the way he does it as well as a number 9. You see, take Messi and Ronaldo out of the equation because they're just ridiculous, aren't they? But you're looking at one of the elite all-round forwards in Harry Kane, and I think Osimhen isn't quite as well-rounded, I would say.
I think you've seen it, though, with Harry Kane over the years. He's got better at that.
Yeah.
And I believe Victor Osimhen can do that. I know you say, he's 24 now. He's not a kid, but he's having usually, with these players, Shearer, Kane, Vardy's a bit of an outlier. I think he might be slightly older. Ian Wright, like, they get to 23, 24, and then they get these suddenly. They go from your 15 goals in all competitions to 30 goals in all competitions. They have that season where they suddenly become top tier.
We see Rashford doing it now.
Yeah, Rashford doing it now.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're at with Osimhen. I think he's gone from, as you rightly point out, steady seasons. You don't get an 80 million quid move unless you've been doing something, right?
Yeah.
And so this amazing season. And I don't think this is a one-off. I know you're saying, well, he's not done it before. But that's what happens with these strikers. They get to this level, and then it's like, it becomes the norm.
Yeah.
And I think with Osimhen, at that stage of the curve, where he's just getting to that point now where he's exploding, and I think we can expect these numbers to continue. With Kane, yes, you've had these numbers for the last 8 years or 9 years, whatever it is, and there's a good chance you're going to get them for the next couple of years. But I think you might see, as he gets to 30, 31, a slight drop-off, because strikers... Again, Vardy's the outlier where at 31 he's probably better than he was at 21.
Yeah.
Usually strikers 31, 32, they're in decline.
It depends though, doesn't it? Because, and I agree with your point, and about, past 30, anything can happen. You might be looking at a Wayne Rooney situation where he peaked probably at 23, 24. Yeah. I think the best...
Again, though, I think he's a bit of an outlier.
Yeah, he is.
He was playing in the Premier League and banging in worldies at 16.
He was. But you look at the best strikers in the world at the moment. It's Karim Benzema. Well, it's Haaland, Karim Benzema and Robert Lewandowski. Both of those are 33, 34. Yeah. And I think, Lewandowski, he didn't win the Ballon d'Or, but he obviously would have done the season they didn't have one. I think he was 33 at the time, or 32. Karim Benzema won the Ballon d'Or at 34 years old. Yes, there's a chance that Kane might go 30, down, but there's a chance he could go 30 and stay level to 33, 34 like we've seen from Benzema. And hopefully... he can do that. Let's just have a look at some more defensive stats, which again isn't the main, obviously the main thing here. A place where neither in particular excel. You look at the tackles and dribblers tackled and all that. Much of a muchness, I think, there. Neither of them particularly shining in those defensive areas. But we're not expecting that from the boy.
39, especially this season when you've watched it.
Yeah.
And I think Weghorst has shone a light on it. You need someone in the box. You need someone there getting on the end of things. You need someone hustling the defenders. You need someone holding it up and getting his head on things. You know what Osimhen can do that. I know Kane can do that. You need someone who can score those goals around the 6-yard box, because Marcus Rashford, I know he can do it, but a lot of the time he's coming in from the left. Yeah. Anthony, he's not really a goal scorer, to be fair to the kid, but we've lacked a bit of that. And it's a shame that Martial's not been fit, because he would fit into that system. I think he would, because he can do that. But you need a bit of that. So whilst these numbers, defensively, great.
Yeah.
I'm not overly concerned. I want a number 9.
Yeah,
and I want a number 9 who is a number 9. I don't want a number 9 who's a false 9 or is an attacking midfielder or is a winger. I want someone who's going to be getting on the end of things. Yeah. And I think that, to be fair, both of these players can do it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend they can't because that would just be silly.
We've focused a lot on what we like about, I like about Kane, what you like about Osimhen. Let's have a little look at some weaknesses. We'll get into comments just after this, so get your comments in now and we'll come to those in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, we'll get into them.
Just on some weaknesses, and it's hard to call it a weakness, really, but Victor Osimhen's injury record, I know Kane, I'm sure you mentioned Kane's, has been somewhat questionable.
No, I think that's fair. Let's not be silly about it. But I will, in defence of him, I think this season, I know there's a lot of ifs and buts, but he can have his best season ever in terms of appearances. And we see that a lot with young strikers. And I think he's learning a bit more about maybe not picking up injuries because he's just thrown himself into things. And he's managing that a little bit.
Because he is a very sort of devil-may-care
blood and thunder,
player,
which is great, but it's not great when he's on the treatment table for so many games. So again, he's moving in the right direction in that, which is what you want to see. If you were seeing a kid who's played 10 games this season and 35 last season, then I'd be worried.
Just on some of the numbers, Osimhen has missed 45 games since he joined in the 2020-2021 season, which is obviously not great. That's 2 years, and he's missed 45 games. Harry Kane has missed 67 games, which is 22 more, but that is since the 2013-14 season. That is in 9 years, starting at when he was 22 years old. So in the same period, since both being 22, Osimhen's missed 45 and Kane's missed 67 in 9
I'll be honest, I think that, Kane's injury record is overhyped. It's good.
It is.
He's overhyped. Sorry, it's overstated how injured he gets. I think he's missed 5 games in 2.5 years, is it?
Something ridiculous.
So I'm not
39 games already this season.
So I'm not gonna beat him with that stick.
Yeah.
I that's not something I would go. My criticism with Kane is that, and I know you say you make a great point. He's played under Pochettino. He's played under this. He's played under that managers. Truly great players, right, can get a trophy. They can make it happen. We've seen that. I saw Brian Robson playing with the likes of Pete and Davenport and Teddy Gibson and all them lot. Still won things.
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, that's been a bit harsh there because there was a lot of great players in this side in the 80s. We've seen players who can carry their team to a trophy before. We've seen it, we mentioned Vardy earlier. Vardy and Kante more or less did it. And there's been some good players at Spurs. Let's not forget, they've got to finals. They've been there or thereabouts. They've won games. They've beaten all the big teams. Do you know what I mean? We played them in the semi-final of the FA Cup where they took the lead. Yeah. Like, there's been opportunities during that time at Spurs where they could have won something. But it hasn't happened. And I think that is a slight criticism of me because I think it's all well and good going, he scored 200-odd goals, whatever it is. He's done all these things. He's scored, he's been done this, that and the other. Every final he's been to, he's lost. Correct. Even with England. He's lost semi-finals as well. Mm-hmm. And in the league, he came third in a 2-horse race. So I do feel like it's a bit of a criticism because I think that some players who are truly elite can get you over the line. They can do. And I think there was opportunities there. And I think far too often when we've seen Spurs in a final, in a semi-final, you've gone, well, they're not going to win this.
No.
When they got to the final against Scousers, it was like...
One of the worst performances I've ever seen.
Yeah, even the Spurs fans are going, we're at the final, we've made it.
Turn up.
We don't win. But they didn't turn up. The League Cup against City didn't turn up. It's just it's a kind of a trait with Kane. And I think that for me is a slight criticism. Only a slight one, but I think to be 29, 30 at the end of this season or beginning of next season, to have scored so many goals. Yeah. Wout Weghorst has won more trophies than Harry Kane.
And he's a better player.
Wout Weghorst has scored 4 goals, I think, in English football. And he's got a trophy to show for it. Harry Kane scored over 200, and he's got as many trophies as I am.
But perhaps that shows you that scoring goals doesn't necessarily mean that it's your fault whether your team wins trophies or not, or it's only down to you.
But I think you have to turn up in some of those games.
You couldn't give Weghorst
in those big games.
Maybe.
Because Weghorst, to be fair, didn't score, but he turned up in the cup final.
Can I mention the elephant in the room, please?
Go on.
I want to go through a list of the top scorers in Serie A by season.
Okay.
You stop me when you think there's a player on this list that would make it in the Premier League.
Okay.
Okay? Ciro Immobile.
Right, can you get going?
In fairness, Cristiano Ronaldo, but we've seen how that panned out.
Okay, Ronaldo.
Ciro Immobile.
Ronaldo did make it, though, didn't he, in the Premier League? After Juventus. He scored 18 goals in the Premier League at 36 years old. It's not like he came to United and was a disaster in his second spell.
Okay. Cristiano Ronaldo, fair enough. Ciro Immobile again. Fabio Quagliarella. Mauro Icardi, Ciro Immobile, I think 32-year-old Edin Dzeko, Gonzalo Higuain, who I think 1 or 2 seasons after that failed at Chelsea, Mauro Icardi, Luca Toni, Ciro Immobile, Edinson Cavani. There you go, first one. That was.
Oh, hang on a minute.
What?
Dzeko, unfortunately, made it in the Premier League.
But not as in he never got anything close to 29
unless I remember,
league goals.
I wish he didn't, because he gave me nightmares in that 6-1.
No, but that wouldn't. He was the backup striker to Sergio Aguero.
I mean, that's
what I'm saying is
slightly unfair, because a lot of those players you mentioned, I think the Premier League is the hardest league in the world.
Yeah.
Now, what a good player should do is go to Serie A, score a load of goals, and then move to the Premier League, because it's harder.
Yeah.
Which is what I expect Osimhen to do.
Yeah.
A lot of those players are either past the best or probably not as high a standard as they need to be to smash it in the Premier League.
The point, as you know, obviously, the point I'm trying to make is, I think a goal in Serie A is worth 0.7 goals in the Premier League. I know that's a sort of a silly way of saying it, but Edin Dzeko left Man City because he was past it and not good enough anymore and not scoring goals, and scored 29 goals in Serie A the next season.
But we've seen that so many times, like, Forlan barely scored many goals for United.
Yeah.
And when it smashed it
exactly.
in a La Liga, when it was they were cleaning up in Champions Leagues and stuff, not him personally, but that was a tough league. So we can see stuff like that. And listen, I understand it.
Yeah.
But you could go through every single Napoli team for the last so many years and go, how many of them have won a title? None. And then you go to this one, and it is. So there's always an outlier, or there's always one where you go, all right, that's not the case.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of players there that actually did make it in the Premier League after that. Edinson Cavani, second season was a disaster.
Yeah, but that was 10 years ago.
First season. I mean, but these are the hand we're dealt, aren't we?
What I mean is the standard of Serie A, I don't think is particularly representative of you saying someone does well in Serie A. I like him. I'm not. I think the fact that he's scoring X amount of goals in Serie A is not saying that much. No, Juventus are an absolute shambles at the minute. Inter Milan, they lost Conte, they've lost pretty much everything. You've got AC Milan, who were a team who's sort of they won the league last season, but you go through that team man for man and it's pretty thin. My worry is that he's scoring a decent number of goals in a league where people like a 34-year-old Fabio Quagliarella could get 26 league goals, who you would never expect to make it in the Premier League. I think there's a big jump there that he maybe could do, but that worries me a little bit. That it's when's the last time a striker came from Italy and made it in the Premier League?
It's not an easy league to do that. I'm not saying it's, but
yeah,
I remember hearing the same argument about Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Yeah.
Oh, is this Holland easy? You know what I mean? You go to Holland, I could score goals. And honestly, I know it's before the internet, but I remember having this conversation with, and he'd just done his cruise ship before we signed him.
Yeah.
And it was like, you watched him and you could tell that was an elite striker. Yeah. And he could score goals anywhere. And he was on the up. I know he just had an injury, but he was a player who was young and going to get better. I see that. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's probably the best striker I've ever seen. But I see a striker who I look at and go, he could come to the Premier League and smash it. And we've had that, there's so many players who've come from abroad, not necessarily just Italy, but leagues that you would go are inferior to England and have still smashed it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think there's a case there to be made with Victor Osimhen that he could come and continue in this upward trajectory he's got in a team with a manager who knows what he's doing, a team where he's got some really good teammates, some, in my opinion, better teammates. People may disagree, and he's got a Napoli and a system that would work for him. And also as well, you're right, okay, I get the Serie A argument. He's also doing well in the Champions League as well, to give credit to the kid. I think, he got 5 goals in the Champions League this season?
Yeah. Something
like that, 4 or 5. They're still in it. And for me, you look at a player, and is he making his team competitive? He is. Because I think they've got a good chance of winning the Champions. I'm not saying they're going to.
Yeah. They've got a good chance to get to the final, definitely, because the way the draw's gone.
We've seen it in the past. Anything can happen, can't it? If you get through to the last 4,
Chelsea and Liverpool,
the final. Yeah, exactly. So I think that you've got to give him sort of some credit for that.
Yeah.
So listen, I get the whole Serie A argument, but I just think, for me, I like Harry Kane. Victor Osimhen, though, and I know this is almost a feeling rather than a stat. Or when I watch Victor Osimhen, I'm truly and utterly excited.
Yeah.
And the thought of him being at United is like, rah.
And the way we try and attack as well, a player of his excitement and ability would be very good.
And I think with Harry Kane, it's more of the kudos, and it's Kane. And it's like the guy, rather than, wow, I can't wait to see what do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do like Kane. I don't want to bash him, but I just feel with Osimhen, he's just like, Harry Kane feels a little bit like a video.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or like an 8-track.
Yeah.
Whereas Victor Osimhen is, laser disc.
He's an MP3. Right, you've heard from us. You've heard of our opinions there. Let's get into some comments. Let us know who you would prefer.
I'm gonna
whether you think we're talking crud. Let us know. Go on then, Jay. What we
do hit the like button as well. Tina Tellefson Soccer says Kane as captain for both Spurs and England failed, and he's 31 years. He's 29, but he'll be 30 by the time we get him, and will cost 80-100 million. Osimhen played Serie A and will cost the same as Kane, but are younger, so go all in for Osimhen.
Just on that, this whole thing of we'll have him for a decade. When is the last time Manchester United had any player, any attacker for a decade? I can tell you the answer. It's Wayne Rooney. We bought Lukaku when he was 25. He'll be here for a decade. If they're shit, it doesn't matter how young they are. They leave. So
can we have a poll? Can we get a poll going? That's a good idea.
It's very easy to say, Osimhen's only 24.
Maybe do one on Twitter as well.
Osimhen's only 24, so he'll be here for a decade. He'll only be here for a decade if Real Madrid don't poach him, if he's any good.
I think at best 8 years, I think is what you're going to get. And we've had strikers, haven't we, 6 or 7 years or whatever in the past. That's been a thing.
But even that's rare.
I think he's rare. I agree. Yeah. But I think he's rare. I'm sorry. I thought Lukaku was all right, Everton, and there's a debate with me and Steve from many years ago where I wasn't keen on him. Yeah. Because I thought his touch let him down, and I was a bit like, I don't think that of it's Osimhen. Do you know what I mean? So I do think, I know this sounds like cliche, and it's but I do get that vibe from that Victor Osimhen is something special. Yeah. And I think he can break the mold with something. You're right, but a big part of that is we've gone for these older ones, haven't we? Cavani, Igalo, Ronaldo, Weghorst is just a stopgap in it, to be fair, the kid. Sorry, Zlatan. Tina Tellefson Soccer again, who's been a member of the Academy for 7 months. Osimhen, the way younger than Kane and less injury proven, but Lukaku came from Inter to Chelsea and flopped. Can we take this change? It's fair, but I don't think Lukaku and Osimhen are comparable, personally. Flurgle McLennan's, this is a cool way to do a show. It's like Joe in the blue corner, Jay in the red corner arguing. Nicely done, lads. Thank you. Social Anxie TV says, thoughts on potentially signing Kane and Evan Ferguson and loaning Ferguson back to Brighton for a season, guaranteed goals now and in the future. Would you do that?
No.
Okay. Fergal McLennan says, getting Kane to help you win stuff is terribly interesting thought, but you could argue Kane has held back teams in massive occasion. The pass to Sterling thing, and he was terrible, played injured in the Champions League final selfishly.
Well, he didn't pick himself, and also you can go through any top player's career and say, look at this pass he could have made that would have been better. Like Ryan Giggs has missed passes. He's hit the crossbar from 18 yards out. He's put the ball over the bar against Arsenal. Like, he's won more trophies than anyone in the history of English football. And you can go to finals and big games where he's fucked up. That doesn't mean he's incapable of winning trophies, does it?
No, I don't think Kane's incapable. I've said it. I think he'll win a title with United, but I also think Osimhen will. Yeah. And I think Osimhen could potentially win more. Just on a side note here, Andy G says, lads, I am off topic here, but 12 months ago, I had a brain hemorrhage. I was in hospital for 4 months with a week home before going to rehab. You guys have gotten me through so much. You are legends. No, you're a legend, bro.
Absolutely brilliant.
I'm glad to hear you're on the mend, and thanks for the shout out. Max, MUFC. Oh, hang on, sorry. Tina Tellefson Soccer again, I think, is in another one, says, but where was Kane against Milan when Spurs needed him? We need him to be there for the Champions League. Max, we've already covered that, your argument there. Max, MUFC 96, says, Kane has given up big games lately due to poor management. We've seen how much Ten Hag has improved players. We need both to challenge on all fronts.
But I just think this finals thing is unfair on Kane, because every single final he's played in, he's been an underdog. So it's not like he's playing for Real Madrid and he's never scoring. He's playing for England against Italy, who had never lost a game under that manager, the most informed team in the world when we played him, that Italy team. And I don't think he played badly in that game. You look at the Champions League final, it was a Tottenham team that scraped through by the skin of their teeth against Ajax, playing against a Liverpool team that was, again, probably the most informed team in the world at that moment, a team that went on to dominate the Premier League the season afterwards. And he was basically injured when he played in that final. I think the finals thing is unfair. And also, at least he's been to some finals. Like, I know it's not a great experience going to them and losing them, but it's not like, I don't think he's been terrible in all of those games, and he's been playing for the underdog every time.
Listen, I do get the argument about he has been in the underdog, and I think, I don't think there's a game where you going into it, you go, oh my God, you expect them to win. He should have won that.
He scored, and I think he scored more goals in the North London derby than anyone. He scored he scores against big rivals. He scored goals against United. He scores against Chelsea. He scored tons of goals, like I said, against Arsenal. He's not someone that never scores in big games. You know, Lukaku's record against the top six is just woeful. Kane isn't that kind of guy. Kane scores goals in big games, not every big game.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is in some of those finals, he's not really done much.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
That's
the issue. You know, like Shearer when he played Arsenal. I think it was in '98. He played Arsenal. Ethan, you won't remember because you don't think you were born, which is no excuse. But I remember, I think he hit the post. Yeah. But you could see it was him on his own, trying to make things happen. You think Arsenal just a better team. I understand that he's playing for a team that's inferior, but I still think there's times when he's just not done anything, and you've looked at it and gone, I get, but Chelsea in 2015, City in 2021, the Scousers in 2019. He's always been the underdog. I understand your argument in Italy as well. I just feel like you look at all those finals he's done now, unless I'm misremembering. I don't recall him having particularly good performances. And I always say, and this isn't just criticism, in the big games, certain players, those are the ones you want to turn up. It used to be my criticism of Pogba a lot. That some of those big games when you need him, he just didn't do out. Some he did, to be fair, but others he didn't. And I think that's the sort of thing with Kane where I think he could have done a little bit more in some of those games. But look, I understand it. No one was expecting Spurs to win any of those finals, or perhaps the England-Italy one. Would you have them as favourites for that final? Yeah. I
think just the momentum that they had going into that game was unlike any other team in the world.
I kind of get it, and I think sometimes the semi-finals thing you can maybe argue a similar thing. Christian Shea's been a member of the Academy for 27, first team for 27 months. Says, would Jonathan David? He's put Davis, but I think he means David. Be a good Osimhen alternative, very similar.
No,
strengths cheaper, a little younger, and League One players seem to transition better. It's kind of gone off the boil, that one, hasn't it?
Yeah.
There was a rumour and there was a lot of hype, and I think it's died down. I don't think Jonathan David is perhaps as well or as likely to come to United as people expect.
Whenever I've seen Jonathan David play, he looks very clunky.
I don't like that.
His touch isn't great. He's I don't know, especially in the World Cup. I think Canada were arguably the worst team in the competition, so maybe it's not quite fair. But just his ball play, his hold-up play, his dribbling, his touches, he snatched at a lot of things. He looked like he was rushing. He looked like the occasion was getting to him, and I thought his dribbling and his hold-up play was pretty poor, actually.
It's like I said about the World Cup. I don't think you can buy players based on a World Cup. I think that's a recipe for disaster. But players can certainly put you off them in a World Cup, because sometimes you're playing against League One players, literally.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing very well, then people can go, really, is he going to come at United and bang them in for us in the Champions League, if we're in the Champions League, obviously, or in the Premier League? I'm not so sure. So, yeah, I understand your point there. Riker Nyberg says, Martial has been here almost 10 years. True. Pretest says...
Would you call it a success? That's the thing.
No.
He's only been here for 10 years because...
Oh, sorry, I didn't get the point there, but yeah, going on about...
Talk about players sticking around, but I mean, success. No. It's not been a successful transfer, has it?
No.
Overall.
I think we have to be... It's time to get realistic here now.
Yeah.
If we're going to win, right, Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues, and have this sort of era that some of us, mainly me and others, have said we can expect, we have to start being a bit more brutal and demanding. And I don't think we can just go, players scoring a decent amount of goals every other season is enough, and being injured every other season is enough. It's not.
No. If we want to be one of the best teams in the world, we need one of the best goal scorers in the world.
Yeah, and I like Martial, but I just think it's the end game.
When is the last team that won consistently leagues and cups without a striker scoring goals consistently?
No.
I can't think of one. Real Madrid, you look at Benzema, Ronaldo, Man City, Aguero scored 200-odd goals for him. Barcelona's had the pick of some of the best players of all time. It just doesn't happen, does it? Even United down the years.
People are saying City last season, but they had I think the thing is they had lots of goal scorers, didn't they, sir?
And also, that was 1 year.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the outlier, innit? Yeah. You're always going to get outliers. Danny says, Grealish, Sanchez, no Kane guarantee in new teams.
No, I need to...
Go on, fair enough.
Grealish was never a proven player like Harry Kane is. Grealish got 6 goals, 7 assists a season for Villa. It's not like he was doing 30 and 30, then goes to City and stops scoring. Grealish is doing for City what he used to do for Villa. The truth is, he's just not very productive. And on Sanchez had injuries and was maybe it's a fair comparison, but he'd been awful for Arsenal for 6 months until we bought him. From the start of that season until January, he'd been really poor, and everyone kind of went, it's just a bit of a blip because he was so good the year before. But Sanchez, I thought, was going off the boil already by the time we signed him, so I don't think that's a fair comparison.
Sorry, Danny Shields, you're right, I did, thanks for flagging up. I missed your super chat. Alan Shearer, Danny Shields, big follower of the channel, love your support, brother. Says Alan Shearer is all-time Premier League goal scorer, 1 trophy. Harry Kane is going to top it, no trophies, 30 years old, ridiculous expensive. Osimhen for me. I think you've had the harder one here. I'll give you that. I think you've had the harder case to make. I think you have.
I think that's ridiculous.
I just feel like...
And obviously we're looking at the polls here. I don't know if...
Go on, you read out the polls.
Currently, would you rather sign Kane or Osimhen? Osimhen with 75% of the vote, Kane with 25%. That just stuns me.
I just feel that...
because he's boring. It's because he's beige, he doesn't talk properly, he's like... I don't mean... he's just a bit like... When you see him in the dressing room, he's
dancing.
Just got this like...
Do you know when he was dancing in the dressing room with all the Mandem, and it's like...
And I don't even mean the way he speaks, which people mock. I mean like what he says.
We don't mock
like,
on this channel.
No, he's got like this kind of boring "let's do it" thing. He's not inspiring.
Do you remember him celebrating when they beat Ajax? He was filming himself celebrating.
Do you know what I mean?
And he's a bit of a
loser, isn't he? Like he is. He's not cool. He couldn't be less cool. He's got a boring haircut. He's just a basic kind of English striker. Victor Osimhen's got a fucking mask on. Do you know what I mean? Victor
Osimhen is superhero.
Literally like a superhero's mask. He's cool. He's exciting. He plays for the most sexy team in Europe at the minute. Harry Kane does not do that.
No, he doesn't. But I think that's part of it, right? With Osimhen, you get that. He's a guy who's like, his goals are getting shared constantly. Look at that banger against Roma. Look at that, what he scored against Bologna or whatever. There's that element to him. He's exciting. You look at the polls, and I think he's a player that he doesn't have that sort of, with Harry Kane, I mentioned it earlier, he's a good pro, yeah. There's the only 2 times I think he's let himself down was he didn't turn up for training because he wanted to move to City, and also that I swear on my daughter's life that goal wasn't Christian Eriksen's, that was mine, was horrible. Yeah, it was just a pathetic. I need to beat Mo Salah to Golden Boot, so I'm taking Christian Eriksen's goal, and I'm going to swear on my daughter's life, right? I've got.
That's what I mean when I say he doesn't talk about it. That is a mad thing to say.
Yeah, that is insane.
What are you on about? Like, are you 8 years old?
Yeah.
No, miss, I swear down, that was mine.
Swear down.
It flicked me kneecap on the way
swear
in.
on my mum's life. Like, what are you doing? Mate. Pat that in for starters. So there is that element, and I also think with Kane, it turns off people the fact that everyone backs him in the media. Like Neville and everyone will be like, "Oh, Harry Kane, we love him."
He's almost got like
and I think sometimes that's counterproductive because then fans like us go, "Bore off with all this Harry Kane love."
He's got a bit of. He's almost in my head occupies the same space as like the royal family.
Yeah,
like he's got this kind of statesmanly type air around him. Do you know what I mean? He feels like you could go William, Harry Kane. Like they could be brothers.
Yeah.
Like he almost seems like he's part of the establishment rather than part of like the football fan culture. He's not someone where you go, oh yeah, no one really, unless you're a Tottenham fan, really wants to be sort of Harry Kane in the playground. You want to be someone exciting. And I get that. He's a bit of a sort of, I don't know, kind of suit and tie type player, isn't he? He's very sensible. He's very nice. He's not got much edge to him.
There was that time, right, the official FA Cup Twitter mocked Harry Kane, claiming that Chris Smalling had him in his pocket. Yeah, because we won the semi-final and Chris Smalling. And then there was this outcry, and there was people saying, because it was ahead of the World Cup, this is the worst thing that you could have done. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to a player going into an England player going into a World Cup, right? So I remember this, because I remember quote tweeting it and reminding people that Bobby Charlton literally lost half his teammates in Munich and then went to a World Cup. Let's pipe down with all the, let's protect Harry Kane. How hard done by is he? He's the golden boy. This is ridiculous because someone sent out a bit of a nasty tweet. And I get like social media can be horrible. I'm not defending it. But that's the over-the-top defence we see of Harry Kane, like you were saying. Like he's Prince William. Like he's untouchable. And I think that turns off people because most younger fans are like, what? What is this? Why are we bending over backwards to defend him against something that's so trivial? And to be fair to him, he's probably a bit like, unbothered by some of it. So, I think that does sort of go against him. Just a couple more before we can go to the final results of the polls. Max Hillary says Kane is guaranteed, and he's put guaranteed, in capitals. Goals for the next 3 seasons at least. We have a squad to win a league right now. Yeah. Get Kane and supplement with Evan Ferguson, so he's in your corner. Phil Goodman Clement says, off topic, but what's the best way to support the channel? Best way to support the channel? Likes and subscribe, super chats, memberships, buying a sponsor products or something else. Watching the channel, getting involved in the chat, liking, sharing, subscribing. That's supporting the channel enough. If you can, and you've got money and you want to buy merch and stuff, buy it if you want it. I'm not going to say buy it just to support the channel. We appreciate your support, but I only encourage people to buy stuff if they want it and they can afford to do it. Then yeah, we do appreciate that support. But listen, just being in the chat, and Fergal, you've been a great supporter of this channel. We appreciate that so much, man. That never goes under the radar. Can I just read out a couple of non-super chats? Sorry, bro, because I've just had so many super chats. I've had to go through them, and I don't want to miss out people who've just been doing the other chat as well. Brian Casey says, if it comes down to the price, if Kane was 40 million and Osimhen was 90, we'd be saying get Kane. I understand that. Yeah, what about Vlahovic, says Ridwan. Carl Smith sort of replies to that, says Vlahovic is not that is just not that great. Mark says Kane, easy, debate over. So he said that. Pretty, sorry, I've missed another super chat here. Pretty says, I love RVP for what he did for us, but also we had a chance to sign him and Lewandowski and went for RVP. Leder could give us a decade of brilliance.
He might have.
Same now.
But what also could have happened with Lewandowski,
sorry, Pretty, for missing that.
We could have bought him. He could have not won us the league in 2013, and during his peak years, like David De Gea, he could have been playing for a shit team, like Harry Kane is now. Do you know what I mean? Lewandowski could have been the Harry Kane of Man United. Do you know what I mean? He could have been scoring 25 to 35 goals a season for a team that's won almost nothing because every other part of it was awful. And that's what Harry Kane's situation is. So I would never swap what Van Persie did for United for what Lewandowski could have done, because I don't think he would have been the difference, and I think it's the same with Kane. He's a top player, but I don't think he's quite the difference to make Tottenham as good as Man City or Liverpool, because they haven't got the rest of the team.
Con in the super chat says, how ruthless should we be in our clear out this summer? Just looking at our team, there is a few that's got a right hammering over the years. We're going to be doing a video on that. We're going to go through the squad, maybe in a few days' time, where we're going to go who's going and who's staying. Yeah. We did it last year. We're going to do it again. So we'll go through that. Me, Joe, and another, and we'll decide who's going to stay and who's going to go. And just like this, we'll have a bit of a debate, and you guys can all get involved. Joe,
right, Jay, you've got 30 seconds.
Yeah,
we've heard it all.
Yeah.
Victor Osimhen's won the polls. People want him. Fair enough. Yeah. 30 seconds after everything that's been said. Yeah. What are your final words on why Manchester United should sign Victor Osimhen?
I think Victor Osimhen is that young, exciting striker that's banging in not just goals, but exciting goals, worldies. He's always sort of trending because everyone loves watching and sharing his goals. He's a player that's about to win Napoli, their first Scudetto in decades, I think. He's also in the last 8 of the Champions League. He's got a fighting chance in that. He's a player that can win you something and score you loads of goals. Very exciting, and he can do a job for a long time at Manchester United. I like Harry Kane, but Harry Kane is... You call him a safe option. I think it's slightly beige. Victor Osimhen, exciting.
Stop you right there.
Go on, brother.
Right, I'm going to say why we need Harry Kane. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? Harry Kane is a proven goal scorer, a proven world-class player. He's about to be England's top goal scorer. He's almost certainly going to be the Premier League top goal scorer. How could you not want that at Manchester United? He does not miss. Every single season for the last 8 years, he scores goals. He doesn't have ups and downs. He has peaks and even higher peaks. His worst season is about as good as any striker we've had in the last 7 years' best season. That is all you need to know about Harry Kane. He comes in and he wins us trophies. Done. Right, that's going to be all from us. Get your thoughts in the comments. Thank you, Jay, for your ridiculous, stupid argument there. And thank you to the 25% that agree with me that Manchester United should sign Harry Kane.
It's 24.8%.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Rounding. Who are you?
Do you know what I mean?
After the 2020 election?
It's an overwhelming landslide victory for people that haven't started drinking this morning.
It's an underwhelming... bum slide victory, actually. Thank you very much for joining us. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Get your thoughts in the comments below. Kane or Osimhen seems to be the two main choices.
I mean, I'd have Harry Kane, you'd have Victor Osimhen. We'd have either of them. But for the purposes of this, who do you prefer? If we had a choice. We've given you our decision. You give us yours.
Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you in a bit.